What are some of the current challenges facing education? Is it possible to focus on every student in an equitable fashion? Can one educational leader impact change in a community? We'll explore those topics and more in this episode of Educationally Speaking. Greetings and welcome to Educationally Speaking. My name is Mark Edwards, Communications Specialist with Oakland Schools and host of this award-winning podcast. In each episode, we focus on important and engaging topics related to education here in Oakland County, Michigan. If this is your first time listening, I appreciate you tuning in. Please follow Oakland Schools on social media and engage with us. If you're a regular listener, welcome back. Make sure to tell a friend and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcast. Thanks so much for listening. Let's begin. In this episode, we sit down and discuss everything education with Dr. Dania Bazzi, who was recently recognized as the 2021-22 MASA Superintendent of the Year for her impeccable work in Ferndale Public Schools. So let's jump right in. Dr. Bazzi, thanks for taking the time out of your schedule. I know you're so busy doing so many different things inside of the community for joining us on this episode of Educationally Speaking.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
We're going to have a lot of fun today. It's a privilege and a pleasure to sit down with you. I truly admire those who put kids first. That's such an important thing, especially today in our society. Can you start off by providing our listeners with a summary of your education and your career?
Yeah, I grew up in Wayne, Michigan, and attended Wayne Westland Community Schools, graduated from Wayne Memorial High School. When I left, I had been inspired by my teachers really to pursue higher education. As the daughter of immigrant parents, it was always a lifelong dream to do that, and so they gave me the confidence, to move forward. The issue was I didn't really know where my path was going to take me, but I was always taught to follow my passion, and I loved math. And it, an odd thing to love, but I enjoyed mathematics, so I earned my Bachelor's of Science degree from University of Michigan Dearborn in mathematics.
Go Blue.
Always go Blue. So, I earned that degree. I moved, into the career world and worked as a project consultant to Ford Motor Company. I did that for about 5 years, but at the same time, the classroom kept calling me, to come to the classroom in terms of my love of mathematics. So I earned my graduate degree to allow me to teach at the secondary level, and soon after completing that, I began my teaching career at John Glenn High School in Westland, Michigan as a math teacher. I did that for 5 years and at the same time earned my PhD from Wayne State University in Curriculum and Instruction. Again, there was always that drive to be a student and to inspire a student. So my career path and my educational path were always one of the same for myself and for my students. After that, I really was lucky with great opportunities working as a data consultant at Jackson ISD, and then the Director of Teaching and Learning at Hamilton Community Schools, which is south of Holland. My first superintendency was at Galesburg Augusta Community Schools, where I had the pleasure of serving a really wonderful community. We did a lot of great work together. My journey finally takes me to Ferndale, where I've served as the proud superintendent for the past 5 years. We recently passed a $124 million bond that will see us build a brand new Ferndale Lower Elementary School that we're really excited about.
Very exciting. I did look at that online, and I think all of those plans are on the website, on the Ferndale website. So if you're a listener and you want to take a look at some of the work that they're doing in Ferndale, you can go to their website. Could you give us that website?
Yeah, ferndaleschools.org.
Very nice. And so, and you kind of answered this in that reply, but how did you know that education and public service was the right path for you? I would say that this work is a calling. Is that correct?
I agree it is. When you're summoned to service, there's no better profession than education. It's what inspires our students, to find their college, career, or post-secondary path once they leave public education. So I think what called me is when I really did enjoy working at Ford Motor Company. It was a great atmosphere, and there was a lot of things that I took from my corporate experience that we integrated as, in our teaching profession, that we don't work individually, we work as teams. Collectively, we're stronger as a team. So at Ford, you never worked in isolation. You worked in teams, and there was always support, from engineers and finance and marketing and different entities to really come together to create a beautiful product in terms of a vehicle. So I took a lot of those attributes into the classroom, but I knew that I couldn't spend, the next 30 years of my career in a cubicle, that I would rather be in a classroom with 30 ninth grade Algebra 1 students. And so that's where I was happiest, being in a school, and it continues to be where I thrive.
And would you say that now, being a superintendent, some of that corporate experience has helped you with guiding different departments? Because we know in a school district there's so many different departments, finance and communications and business, and so did all of that experience help you, guide you into where you are today?
Absolutely. That certainly did, but I've also been very lucky to have incredible mentors who have given me their time, expertise, and guidance. And then also, working at an ISD, to see what types of supports local school districts have to help them maximize efficiency has also been a help. So again, you look at all stakeholders that make up your educational community, and it's really important to create partnerships with them, because in the end, our students benefit from that.
And I know that your father, he's been a long-standing public servant as well.
Yes.
And so how has his life's work impacted you?
So, my father has always dedicated his life to public service, whether it was centered around his family, but more importantly around his community. My father was the mayor of the city of Wayne, a longstanding council member as well before that, and currently serves as a Wayne County commissioner. I certainly learned my love of public service from my father. He's always put the interests of others ahead of his own, and always sacrificed his time to ensure that his constituents are heard. So my father is he's young. I'm not going to out his age, but there's not a minute of his day that isn't dedicated to being a public servant. So I certainly was inspired by his work to make sure that I'm always accessible and available to my community.
And for our listeners, we're speaking of Al Haidas. He is a long-serving community member and public servant, and I had the privilege as an individual who's worked in prevention and youth prevention, meeting him and hearing him speak over the years. So this is kind of nice to actually meet you as well for the first time. So
small world.
It's a very small world. So to do this work at a very high level, it takes a lot of commitment, as you've kind of mentioned already. But in order to give our audience a clear understanding of the day-to-day life of a superintendent, can you describe what it looks like? What is your morning, your afternoon, and even into night sometimes? This work can carry into the night.
I think the day looks different on any particular day, but really what it consists of from a holistic point of view is really working with central office and the different departments to ensure that the day-to-day operations of the district are successful. It means being present in buildings and doing walkthroughs and making sure that you're doing purposeful visits at each of the buildings so that teachers are able to share kind of the great work that they're doing so that you see it. I think a lot of the day is also spent responding and being available to your community when they have questions or concerns. A lot of my day also, though, is, preparation. My job is to ensure that the Board of Education is well informed about the district and how we're implementing the strategic plan within the district. So making sure that our day-to-day work is aligned to the strategic vision and mission of the district is kind of the main thing that I do. Into the evenings, that's every day probably, in terms of there's always something going on with athletics, fine arts, performing arts, community events that are taking place. And it's really important for the community to know that you're invested in more than what takes place day to day in the classroom. You're invested to see their students perform in a school play or present at a city council meeting. So to me, the evening is kind of when the real day starts, because the district day-to-day business is an expectation. To go above and beyond, you have to be present outside of the classroom as well.
And I assume that you enjoy those activities, the athletics, the theater. I mean, that's just that's the fun stuff of being a superintendent. And I love to hear that you're in the buildings and you're visible, walking the hallways. I think parents, teachers, students even feed off of that. When they see you, that you're visible, smiling, asking questions, part of the day-to-day, it just makes the whole atmosphere so much better.
100%. Even things as simple as I myself and the math curriculum coordinator, Tom Mays, run a math club at Ferndale Middle School. And so every other week we meet with a group of students and do Math Jeopardy or experiments or practice, essential skills as it relates to mathematics. The opportunity is to be able to connect with kids and make sure that they know that we care about them, we're there for them. You might look at it and say it's a small number of students, but if every adult within a school community is making an impact on 3 or 4 students' lives, that collective effort is going to have really a big impact on your school community. So anything you can do to connect with kids as an administrator, a teacher, a volunteer, a mentor, is going to have a profound impact on that student's life, and it's very important to do that.
And it keeps you in tune to your love of math, and we know that if you don't use it, you lose it. So it's just new strategies are developing every day, new ways of designing instruction and implementing instruction. So I know that those students probably love seeing you there, and that, again, it just speaks volumes to your commitment to this work. As educators, switching gears from math to now reading month, it's March. March is reading month. What are some of the cool things you guys are doing in your district in terms of that?
Yeah, there's a number of activities taking place within the district as it relates to March's Reading Month. One of my favorite activities is the entire staff, including myself, record reading of a nighttime or bedtime story so that parents or students can play it and see their favorite teacher or principal reading them a story as they go to sleep. The Board of Education is also participating in that, and it's a great way for our community to connect with us, from a virtual setting.
Sure.
Obviously, there's reading challenges and an emphasis on reading. We know that one of the single best ways to improve reading amongst our early childhood students is reading to your child. That connection every day, yes, every day. We know that has impact. So celebrating reading and really showing how it impacts not only academics but the power of connection really it highlights what an important month that is.
And I think to the point you're making here is with these virtual reads and these just creating a digital library of resources for families to have was a positive that came out of the pandemic.
Correct.
So not only is March Reading Month, but it also celebrates Women's History Month, and we want to thank you for your many contributions to education. What does it personally mean to you to be a leader in education here in Metro Detroit, but also globally?
It is important that our students see themselves in positions like this, right? So we know that over 80 to 85% of the teaching profession are women, but we don't see that same percentage reflected in leaders as principals, superintendents, and et cetera. So it's something that I take very seriously in terms of encouraging women to go after those positions. We currently in Ferndale Schools have an affinity group for women in leadership, and we provide support and guidance and a path for women teacher leaders who are interested in getting into administration. So providing the support on lessons on maybe the financial aspect of being a superintendent that maybe we don't get a lot of experience as when we're in the classroom. So I think providing those opportunities for our staff is important. Every day we work hard to do what's best for students, and I think as an educational leader, I take that seriously just as a human being, that we always have to go above and beyond for our students and make sure that we're giving them every opportunity to be successful.
Well, kudos to you for implementing that program for women to gain confidence and to feel like, yes, I can go for that superintendent, or I can go for that assistant superintendent, or that cabinet position, or whatever it may be. So that's really good work. I'm glad to hear that, especially as I have 2 sisters and I have 2 daughters, so of course I want their opportunities to be unlimited as they go through life.
Absolutely.
So I was recently viewing the website womenshistorymonth.org, and I was reading about us being on the brink of celebrating 50 years of the Title IX, which, for those that don't understand what that is, or if you're listening and you want to know what that is, it was included in the Education Amendments Act of 1972, prohibiting sexual discrimination in education programs supported by federal dollars. So the act opened doors for young women, mainly in athletics, we know, but in 1997, President Clinton signed a memorandum strengthening Title IX enforcement and addressing discrimination on the basis of religion, sex, race, color, and national origin. What are your thoughts about Title IX, Dr. Bazzi, and does it need to be revamped? Is it working? What's good about it, and what needs to be enhanced?
Right. So Title IX was certainly groundbreaking legislation, but like all advancements over time, it is important that we look at it and try to improve where we're at. So Title IX is no different, right? It is good for us as a society to reevaluate it and improve upon it. The attitudes of Americans in the 1990s are not the same as they are today. We've evolved as a society. With the advances our society has made with the LGBTQ plus community, I think it's important for legislators to revisit Title IX and explicitly spell out protections for that community. So it is a vital piece of legislation, but we don't want to leave it up to individual interpretation when some of the terms may be outdated.
So should our listeners reach out to their local reps to kind of push for some of this work to continue to be at the forefront? That way it doesn't get buried in all of the other legislation that's taken place?
Absolutely. Advocacy at the legislative level is really how things get done. When people say, well, if you reach out to your legislator, nothing will happen, it's not true. I've seen it at the school level that when we consistently advocate for our students, we're seeing some changes being reflected. So it's important that our voices are heard at the table and to continue with that advocacy.
And I love when we hear from our young voices, our students who reach out, and you see them speaking at meetings and writing letters. I think it's just so strong, and that's what's really going to guide America forward and helping our world as a whole. Mm-hmm. If you just joined us, we are speaking with Dr. Dania Bazzi. She is Superintendent of Ferndale Public Schools, and she's also the 2021-22 MASA Superintendent of the Year. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I'd love to discuss with you the future of education and hypothesize a little bit on where you believe the profession is heading and where it's going to go. We will be right back. Do you have a show idea, question, or comment, or want to get recognized as a listener of the month? If so, we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line at educationallyspeaking@oakland.k12.mi.us. That's educationally speaking at oakland.k12.mi.us. All right, we are back with Dr. Dania Bazzi, PhD, who was recently recognized as the 21-22 MASA Superintendent of the Year for her service to Ferndale Public Schools. And we just want to thank you again for being here and representing us for Women's History Month. Such a great time of the year. We are in the early stages of what we all hope is turning the page on the pandemic. The mask mandate recently has been lifted. We know that COVID-19 has caused learning loss for some of our students, unfortunately, in addition to social-emotional challenges. Where are we now, and what needs to be done to support our students as we move forward through this school year and into the next years ahead?
I think it's really important that we meet our students where they're at. Obviously, the pandemic will have a different impact on different students, and it's really important that we assess where the individual student is and provide them the support and the opportunity to do well in school and to be successful. So we've offered a number of after-school programmings in addition to an extensive summer program Last summer, we had over 50% of Ferndale students in a summer program with the district, which is the highest it's ever been.
Very good.
I think it's important to make sure that we have social workers and mental health support specialists in our buildings to help support our students on an ongoing basis, right? Not just a one-and-done type of support, something that's consistent, ongoing, and research-based best practices. So again, we are working with our students based on their data, individually, case by case, and providing them the supports they need, whether it's inside the classroom or outside of the classroom, to do well. I don't think we have to worry about the loss, right? Learning really isn't lost. It's the opportunity for learning in certain settings was lost, and that's what we're trying to do, is give our students those opportunities now at an increased level. So I think I am hopeful that we are at the end, and I feel that this school year we've been able to do a lot for our students. Our students have done also a lot for us. Certainly our hallways were very lonely when they were not there. And so, I feel very confident that although there was a lot of difficulty that came as a result of the pandemic, that we will be able to meet the needs of our students moving forward.
I heard Governor Whitmer, even prior to the pandemic, talk about more wraparound services for our students, and you being math-minded, all of these decisions are based on data. So for our listeners that are not in our educational world every day with us, what type of data is being analyzed to meet these students where they are at?
Right. So there's qualitative data that is more social emotional through discussions, surveys, and things of that nature. And then there's the academic data, right? Your reading, your math, your writing. So we do benchmark assessments at Ferndale Schools that allows us to progress monitor our students regularly so that we're able to make adjustments to the teaching and learning based on that data. So, it's important that we're not giving assessments just to give them, that the assessments are then driving the supports and direction that we provide to our students. Then we start to see real success happen. That's when we see growth of students and we can see that their reading or math is improving, and we have the data to support it. Data is not judgmental, right? It's not meant to attack the education profession or specifically teachers or principals or superintendents. Data simply provides us a direction on how to move forward, and really it helps us best serve our students. It's like you don't go to the doctor and say, everything hurts. Well, what hurts? Well, I'll just give you amoxicillin and hope that it takes care of your headache. It has to be a specific diagnosis so that we can get the right prescription and the right medicine so that you get better. And the same thing goes with students. If a student is struggling in one area on one concept, we want to make sure to drill down on that concept rather than, depth rather than breadth.
We know that numbers don't lie, and so that's where that data comes into play. How can families help support that? Because I know you mentioned the instructional staff and superintendents and teachers and principals can put a great plan in place, but a lot of this also has to fall on the families to help support those kids at home. What are some things families can do to help their kids?
I think to keep the lines of communication open between the teacher and the families in terms of what supports are being provided in school, and then reinforcing those at home when available. We understand, though, people are working. It's hard.
Very busy.
And so, for example, at the elementary level, my hope is that within a school day that we can provide the necessary teaching and learning to ensure success. Now, having a strong partnership at home obviously will enhance what we do, and it will certainly make it easier, but we're still going to do everything we can for that student to be successful. So to me, it's open lines of communication. It's reading regularly with your children. It's practicing kind of the essential math skills that are necessary to be successful. It's having dialogue with your students about executive functioning skills. Again, it's not just math and science and ELA I think, I use this example often, but I do really think back to my time at Ford. No one ever asked me to solve a math equation, right? But they did want me to critically think, to work in a team, to problem solve when parts were going to be late to the plant and they can't finish a prototype build, right? So how do we deal with working in teams and being creative problem solvers? That's equally as important. Those are essential skills that students need as well. So I think parents can help with, again, promoting healthy habits, making sure that we see the school and the family as a partnership, and that onus is on both of us to do. And again, keep the lines of communication open.
And also, you mentioned that the core subjects are very important: the math, mm-hmm. the reading, the writing, the social studies, sciences. But also, a lot of districts, like your own, are creating enrichment opportunities. You mentioned the summer school program earlier, mm-hmm. and after-school programs. Are we seeing enough families take advantage of those programs, which a lot of them are grant funded, and districts are working hard to pull more resources in? Are we seeing those programs fill up, or do we need more?
No, they're certainly filling up within our community, and they have been well received by the community as well. So again, it incorporates things like camps as well as the academic. It incorporates bridge programs, so as students go from elementary to middle school, they can have like a 2-week orientation that is, really souped up so that they have an experience to get them ready for that transition.
And it excites them.
Yes.
And
yeah.
That's one of the biggest transitions probably too.
Maybe not the first day, it's during summer break. So we get them excited eventually, but yes. So I think those are important opportunities for students to have. And, I see that many schools in Oakland County are committed to providing those opportunities.
That's good work. And I know a lot of these summer programs are starting to be rolled out now. So if you're a parent listening, please look at your website of your school district and your community. Look at the Oakland Schools website. Lots of opportunities available for your students, many at a low cost, or even scholarships are available. So check out those programs and sign your students up, sign your kids up. We talk a lot about social emotional health, specifically with our students, but sometimes not realizing that this work can also take a mental health toll on us as the adults, as the professionals. How do you maintain a work-life balance, and how are you helping your staff maintain a work-life balance?
So I do think that's important. I think over the past 2 years that's obviously been a little bit more difficult because our community really needed us in a time of difficulty, and I don't know any educator that didn't go above and beyond to meet the needs of their community. So aside from these 2 years, I do think that it is important to have a work-life balance. It's important to have passion for your home life and some of your interests, but also I do think it's equally important to have passion for the work that you do. If your work is a job, and that's how you see it, education probably is not the right choice, speaking frankly. We are in the business of people and in the business of children, other people's children, and it's a responsibility that I think we take very seriously in terms of always going above and beyond for our students. So I equate it to when I see a physician who has to have compassion and empathy because sometimes they're dealing with really difficult situations. Educators are dealing with our hopes, our dreams as an individual, and we can either inspire those or unfortunately we can have a negative impact. So I think it's important to really be able to carve out time, and as a superintendent it is difficult because as we discussed earlier,
only imagine
the morning, the evening, but there are times, and I think being present in the moment of those times, putting away your phone for an hour and really being present with your family shows your family, and you get the feeling of you're making meaningful time. And it might not be as much time as you want, but the meaningful time means something to your family, even if it's a short amount of period. So I have 2 sons who are very young, and we make the time, but at the same time they understand that this is my passion, and one day I'm going to encourage my children to go after their passion. And so I'm not going to tell them, well, I'm older and you have to stay with me. I'm going to tell them to go after their passion the same way they supported me when I went after mine. So I'm incredibly lucky, though, and I think everyone who knows me knows that I have an extremely supportive family, husband, parents who go above and beyond to allow me to do some of the things I do. I really couldn't do it without their support. So I also have a community that understands that sometimes I have to make it to my kid's soccer game, and being transparent with that, I think is the key thing, to be able to balance it in a way where both feel fully supported and really you don't see that scale kind of tipping one way or another. Because when that happens, that's going to create a little bit of that mental health anguish that we really don't want to. So in terms of our staff, we try to do wellness. Again, these past 2 years have been difficult, and I know the staff are tired. I know they're overworked. But again, one day they're going to look back at this, and they're going to see that they were the steady and reliable leadership that their community needed, and that our students are going to benefit from some of the sacrifices that they made.
I agree. I think the education community definitely rose to the occasion through the pandemic, just like the medical profession as well. And again, just going back to some of the parallels of our lives, I have 2 young daughters at home and working in school communications. Sometimes you can feel like you're on 24/7, and I think to your point, it's important, just put the phone away, take even if it's 5 to 10 minutes, just one-on-one with your family, sitting down, having a meal, whatever that may be, can go a really long way. And so just want to say thank you to all of the educators out there who have worked extremely hard throughout this pandemic. Your work will not be forgotten. And again, when you retire, you'll be able to look back at it and say, I really served a great purpose and hopefully helped out a lot of young people along the way. That way they can strive for the same excellence and be great in their work one day. So thank you for that. That was a great answer. So your work in Ferndale focused heavily on community partnerships, and this collaboration, as we know, has allowed you to implement an equity-based plan for the district. How can you walk us through that work and explain how it has enriched the Ferndale community, not just at the school level, but also the community as a whole?
So I think what was really special about that process was that it was 100% community-driven. So when we actually had our strategic plan sessions, which there were many nights of stakeholder groups and sessions to create the strategic plan. It was not something that was created in one day. Here are the goals, here are the objectives, here are the action items. So during that time, though, myself and the Board of Education and other administrators, we attended, but we were not allowed to speak for the majority of it. It was kind of like a fishbowl where we sat on the exterior. The community members that were made up of administrators, teachers, parents, community members, students, they drove the strategic plan.
I love that strategy. And for those of you that do not know what a fishbowl is, it's where the speakers are on the inside and they're debating and they're tossing ideas around. And on the exterior, you're really working on your active listening skills, probably jotting notes down.
Sure, absolutely. This really allowed the community to fully drive the strategic planning process and provide us a plan that they were passionate about. So not something that myself or the board created and said, okay, here's the plan, now everybody get excited about it. The community stakeholders really created that plan, and it really drove the process. So something we're really proud, because it's hard to let go of that autonomy sometimes, but it should be in the hands of your community.
And I'm sure that created ownership and buy-in from a lot of different individuals in a lot of different silos. I don't want to overuse the word stakeholders, but they are. They're stakeholders that are trying to improve the community and improve the educational process for the youth in that community.
Right. Absolutely right. So it also builds trust with your stakeholders, right? It gets them excited about seeing those goals now being achieved over time. We're in our second year, and they're actually seeing things being completed that they mapped out. So
great.
Yeah, those updates are as well on our website that shows the community, here are the things we committed to. here are the things that we accomplished this year. So, I think this leads the community to holding the board and all of us accountable, which greatly increases the chance of success and ultimately leads to better outcomes, for our students.
Very good. Very good work. Very valuable work. And again, long-term work. You're going to see that impact that community for years to come. Mm-hmm. So in 2019, you won the Equity Innovator Award from the Great Lakes Equity Center and the Innovative District Award from the International Center for Leadership in Education. And in 2020, the Whole Child Award from the Michigan ASCD. Just all kinds of awards going on here. What do those accolades represent, and what do they mean to you and the community?
I think it shows that the work we're doing has impact. So a lot of those awards were either building level or district level. It showed you that these are not pockets of excellence, that there is vertical alignment within the district and that everybody's working towards the same goals. I'm extremely proud of the Whole Child Award that many of our buildings have been awarded. It shows the commitment to our social emotional curriculum at all of those levels. In terms of the Midwest Equity Innovator Award, we've worked with Midwest Plains and Equity out of Indiana University, and their professional development as it relates to DEI has really helped drive policy changes within the district that align our policy to our vision, right? Because ultimately, board policy is what guides the district. And if your policy isn't aligned to ensure that all students have equitable access, then it really stops there. So the board has amended policies to make sure that they're reflective of the vision of the district.
It's just ink on paper if people aren't doing the work.
Right.
What comes to mind in regards to raising the achievement gap, and who are the stakeholders responsible for that work?
So, we look at it again in Ferndale and like many educators, as an opportunity gap. And so when we look at the data and that we see that certain groups of students are outperforming other groups of students, we again look at the data to help inform us and make sure that all of our students are getting the support they need in the classroom. So whose responsibility is it? I know this is hard because we want to pinpoint it, but it's really the school community's responsibility. At the end of the day, ultimately, it's my responsibility if the opportunity gap is being addressed. I think the way to do that, and I don't want to get into too much educational jargon, but you have to have an MTSS process, a multi-tiered system of support that is implemented with fidelity and that is data-driven. I think that's when you're going to see student achievement for all students increase. So a lot of times people think that if you're addressing the achievement gap or opportunity gap, that somebody gets less. And as people have used the analogy, this isn't pie. Nobody gets anything less, right? We're just providing the supports that students need. But it really is, it's a more difficult conversation because when we look at the opportunity gap, we have to look at our teaching practices in the classroom. We have to look at the curriculum we put in the classroom. And we have to make sure that our teaching and learning and materials are culturally responsive and that students see themselves in the classroom. It's really hard to learn when you can't see yourself in the learning environment.
Absolutely, and to use you as an example, you come from immigrant parents, you have a Lebanese background.
Correct.
That was probably difficult because in the 90s, this work really wasn't being done.
Right. So, I grew up in Wayne, Michigan. I will tell you, we were incredibly lucky. I think probably because my father was so involved with the community that I honestly, I loved my high school experience. I loved my school experience. And I really feel that because my parents were public servants and really well known within the community, and everyone knew that my parents had this dream for their 5 children to go off and get educated. It was always a dream of my mother and father to go on to higher education. It simply wasn't available to them at the time. So the community knew this, and they knew that was a goal that my parents had for us, and they made it their goal. So I really was lucky. Obviously, there's always cases of those types of things, and we work through those with education. But certainly my experience is probably different, and this work is important because when students don't feel safe, valued, or part of the school community, it really makes it more difficult to learn. So the gap isn't there because inherently one student is, more intelligent than another. It's because there's things in place. There's barriers to that student's learning, and it's our job to remove those barriers.
I think we are lucky to live here in Metro Detroit with all of the different cultural backgrounds and ethnicities that we have, religious backgrounds. It just makes us more culturally rich, and you are definitely the right person to do the work that you're doing every single day. Before we take a quick break, could you tell us who inspires you or who has inspired you other than your parents?
It's funny. I wrote parents, but I'm gonna think about that. I would say obviously the students inspire me every day. I see students coming from many different backgrounds and experiences coming together as a school family and excelling and going after their dreams. So every time I look at my personal path, I look at our students and how they're forging their own new path as we move forward. So a lot of times as educators, for most educators, school worked for them, right? We did well in school, the system was fine for us, and now we're seeing students forge a new way path, a new way forward, right? That might look different than our path. And it's exciting to see because we're seeing that there's multiple paths to get to our goals, where it's not just one path to a 4-year institution, let's say. Could be that's your path.
Certainly.
Right?
Absolutely. And I think here, working at the ISD, Oakland Schools, we have 4 technical campuses that offer great programs for students who will and can still go to college, but they can also earn a high wage, high career, right, walking out of that high school.
I will say I was the youngest of 5, and I had 4 older siblings that again, forged the way and made the path a little bit easier for myself. They certainly inspire me. Each one of us is very unique and have our own passion, but what I can count on is that I never have to walk through life alone, that I have 4 people standing beside me. Of course, my children, my husband, the people who support me every day and allow me to do the work that I do. But ultimately, I know you said I can't answer my parents, but that's the real answer.
If that's the authentic and real answer, that's what we want. So Thank you for that. After the break, we're going to talk with Dr. Bazzi about being named the 2021-22 MASA Superintendent of the Year. Congratulations. You are listening to Educationally Speaking, Oakland Schools award-winning podcast. Hello and thank you to everyone listening on 89.5 WAHS, 89.3 Lakes FM, and RadioCMLF.org. Remember, you can download the Educationally Speaking podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify. So we're in the final segment of today's episode. I love speaking with you. This has been a great, eye-opening podcast, and I hope that our listeners feel the same. We are on with Dr. Dania Bazzi, Superintendent of Ferndale Public Schools. October 18th, 2021. It's the day that you were honored and recognized by MASA as the 2021-22 Michigan Superintendent of the Year. Reflecting back, what does that special day mean to you?
It was a special day for Ferndale Public Schools. It really showed that our collective work as a community of educators was being honored and recognized. So although that award has my name on it, it belongs to the staff, students, and community of Ferndale Public Schools.
I love sharing that credit.
Well, it really is. I mean, that was the result of collective efforts towards the same goals and really having a commitment to the things that we set forth. So it was a humbling day. It was a very special day for our community. Obviously, it was special for my parents and my family as well, sharing in that. My family loves the Ferndale community and are always there to support as well. So that day, it really just showed us that the work that we're doing has impact.
I was able to watch the ceremony on Ferndale's Facebook page, and I know, as you just mentioned, that your family was there and they shared that special moment with you. It was really amazing to see your husband and sons there and embrace and just be part of that. So very
Thank you.
nice. How has life changed since that moment? What are some of the highlights since being named Superintendent of the Year? I know that now you go to Washington, I believe. I don't know if that's taken place yet. Can you walk us through like the months following? And even if I know that's probably not all fulfilled yet, what's to come out of that?
So certainly I've been able to highlight all of the great work that we're doing in Ferndale. For example, I'm sitting here with you doing, a wonderful podcast. So I've been able to have those opportunities really to get out there and speak about public education and the great work that's taking place in Ferndale. I was able to go to the national conference that was in Nashville and accept the award on behalf of Michigan, which again was a really, surreal experience.
And Nashville's a beautiful city.
Yeah, it is.
I've never been, but I hear it.
It was a beautiful city. So, to represent Michigan and to represent our school community of Ferndale was really exciting. I think the highlight is that, again, it allows us to tell our story as public school educators. And I really urge, every school district to tell the story of your community, to highlight the successes of your students and staff, and get that out there. If we don't tell our story, no one will. And our students are more than a test score, and that seems, to be the main thing that's put out there. Or unfortunately, when something doesn't go right, it's important that we share the successes that are taking place within our community and make sure those are heard.
And if we don't tell the great things that are happening, either no one will or someone will try to shift that narrative and unfortunately maybe even attack public education.
Right.
Dania is a strong leader, and she uses this talent to promote academic achievement of all students. She has the courage to put the district's most difficult challenges at the top of her agenda. She demonstrates a high level of self-discipline and integrity. That is a model for those who work with her. She is a tenacious, determined, straightforward individual who knows where she is headed. Those are the words stated in your nomination from Dr. Wanda Cook Robinson, Superintendent of Oakland Schools. What does that sentiment mean to you?
That compliment is certainly flattering to hear. It means so much coming from someone like Dr. Cook Robinson. I have an enormous amount of respect for her, and knowing that she thinks that highly of me is incredibly humbling. She was a past winner and a very strong superintendent who's made a lot of impact within the communities she served, as well as Oakland schools. She has served always as a sounding board and a mentor since I came to Oakland School, remaining open and accessible. I remember when I first started, she came out to Ferndale to welcome me and to let me know that she was there to support me in any way I can. So to have a leader like that, that's so accessible, is really an advantage, and one that I take full advantage of for sure. So I have the utmost respect for her and thank her for that wonderful quote.
And we are in Women's History Month, so again, it's just very nice to honor two great women who are doing great things in education. You first became a superintendent nearly 10 years ago. What would the two Danias say to one another? What would young Dania say to present Dania, and present Dania say to young Dania?
Present Dania would say to young Dania, "You're crazy. What were you thinking?" No, I'm kidding. That is not what I would say. I would say either way, right?
Vice versa.
Vice versa, right? Is that the focus would always be the same. Make students the center of every decision, every choice you make, and you'll never go wrong. Be the steady, reliable, honest, courageous leader your community needs and deserves. And always be open and honest. Ultimately, I always say this, and my staff quotes me a lot of times saying this: adult problems are adult problems, and we solve those. we don't let them impact kids. So no one will ever come to you if you have justification and you make a decision based on what's best for kids. No one will question it. If you say, well, this was easiest because I didn't want to deal with X or Y, and it negatively impacts kids, it's going to be very easy to see the flaw in the decision-making process. So I think that really has to be at the heart of every decision you make. I would tell young Dania and old Dania, continue to go after your dreams and pursue your passions. Compete only against yourself, and always try to be the best version of yourself.
I love that. I love the best version of yourself. We hear that a lot, but I think it's true. If we're striving and we're working hard, then we're doing what's right, and we're going to be satisfied at the end of our day. We know that this profession can be very tough. You and I both, and we haven't mentioned this, are MAT grads, Masters of Arts in Teaching from U of M Dearborn.
Go Blue.
Again, go Blue. So what advice do you have for those who are thinking about pursuing education as a career, but may be apprehensive due to the current climate because it does seem difficult?
I would say do it. You know, we need the brightest and best individuals in public education. There's no doubt it's really tough right now. There's difficulties that we're all facing, but they will get better. They will rebound. Governor Whitmer has made teacher retention, one of her main priorities. And when you see that level of support for public educators, it's only a matter of time that we see the tide shift. The bottom line is there's no more noble profession than teaching, our youth and our students. There's no profession that allows you to have such a tremendous influence on our collective future as a whole. So if it's a calling, if you hear public education as your calling, and you hear, as we say, that summon to service, you should answer it with happiness, with excitement. In tough times like these, great teachers are more important than ever. Great leaders are more important than ever. Great support staff are more important than ever. Great bus drivers are more important than ever. We need them to support our kids inside and outside the classroom.
And I think individuals will know that, because you mentioned this earlier when you were working for Ford Motor Company, which is a great company here, especially in Metro Detroit, part of our heritage and upbringing. The calling will not go away. Mm-hmm. It's going to keep eating at you. It's in your heart. If it's in your heart, it's in your heart. If it's in your spirit, it's in your spirit. If you're feeling like education is right for you and is the calling for you, start to pursue it. Look to the colleges, apply, and it'll all work itself out. With all that you've accomplished, what's next for you? Goals, aspirations, desires. What's down the road for Dr. Bazzi?
I would say that it will continue to be to service public school education. I will be a public school educator for the rest of my career. It will continue to have impact and allow, help facilitate our students reaching their goals. So that's what's next. I already did one of my bucket list. I jumped out of an airplane, I think, like a year ago, and so I checked that off. So my mom said no more of those types of activities, so I have to figure something out in terms of, the non-work aspect. But you will always see me going to work, going to a schoolhouse, working in a schoolhouse, being a student. Who knows, maybe going back to school someday for some other passion that I find. But, I think my calling is clear, and I'll be a public school educator for the rest of my career.
So you're a lifelong learner, mm-hmm. and you're a thrill seeker.
Yeah, I don't know if I looked like a thrill seeker while I jumped out of an airplane, but I sure tried.
Was it tandem?
Yes.
Fun. Yeah. Fun. Lots of fun. So something fun that I like to do is end the show with a little bit of trivia. So I'm going to ask you a few light questions. This has nothing to do with going 3 for 3 or 0 for 3. If you get a couple right, great. If not, that's okay too. We'll all learn a little bit of something here. So my first question, I consider this a layup.
Okay.
When did U of M Dearborn change their mascot, and what was it to?
U of M Dearborn.
And I'll give you years, 2012, 13, or 14. Do you recall what they were before? when you attended?
U of M Dearborn?
So they were wolves.
Okay.
What did they turn to? What did they switch to?
Honestly, I'm gonna take a guess because I have a 33.3% chance of getting this right. So I'm gonna go with 2014.
Okay, it was 2013. What did they switch to, though? It's kind of a two-part question. From wolves to...
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm going to guess
Wolverines.
Wolverines. I was going to say Wolverines,
right. We'll give you half a point for that.
I was I was done with Wayne. I was done with Wayne State. I was going to say because they went from the Tartars to the Warriors. So that one I remember.
All these transitions going on, right? Okay, no worries. Just a little bit of fun again. We discussed that public service runs in the family, and I was viewing the Michigan Online Educator Certification System, kind of as I was doing research on you. MOEX, for all of you of our educator friends that are listening, how many Bazzies, and I'm going to also say Bazzies, are listed in the system? 48, 58, or 68?
I'm going to go with 68.
Yes, there are 68 in the system. So lots of educators, and I know that they're not all blood, but lots of family. Me, myself, when I was at U of M Dearborn, met a lot of great Bazzies and Bazzies. So there's pride in that last name, and you're continuing that work. All right, final question. This one is a little tough, and I'll be honest.
Okay.
I raise up my voice, not so that I can shout, but so that those without a voice can be heard. We cannot all succeed when half of us are held back. This is a quote by Malala Yousafzai, Maya Angelou, or Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
I'm going to go with Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
It was Malala Yousafzai. She's a true global hero, and I had to do some research. And if you're a listener who's unfamiliar with her, please research her life and her work. I promise that you'll walk away inspired. You're a notable woman. You're a notable woman in education. I thank you so much for being with us today, taking the time out of your busy schedule and joining us. Truly an inspiration.
Thank you.
And it's been an honor speaking with you today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank Dr. Dania Bazzi, 2021 MASA Superintendent of the Year, for being our guest today. I'd also like to thank all of the women who are contributing to society in a positive manner, especially as we celebrate Women's History Month. This podcast was brought to you by Oakland Schools Intermediate School District's Communication Services and is produced by Media Production and Distance Learning Manager Mark Hansen. Oakland Schools is a regional service agency in Oakland County, Michigan that offers support services to school personnel which are better delivered regionally and provide cost, size, and quality advantages to those we serve. You can find all episodes of Educationally Speaking on our Oakland Schools website at oakland.k12.mi.us, Anchor FM, and we hope you will continue to tune in as we discuss topics that affect every student every day.